What's up, everybody? Welcome to Evolution to Recovery. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. Um, you know, to me, I take it serious, and I think I have a great guest today. One of South Philly's own, Mark Warner, with 11 years sober. He worked in the industry at Humble Beginnings Discovery Institute, now proud owner, entrepreneur, mogul of Tribe. He has many titles, though. You know what I mean? One of his most important titles is, dad. You know what I mean? And his wife calling him babe. But when she says his whole name, though, then he knows he's about to put her foot up his, his ass. And Renata is his wife, and he loves her dearly, and he loves family. That's one of the most important things when I met him, that he told me that above all and anything else, no matter what, helping people, anything, the most important part to him in life is his children, and his family, and his home where he lives at. He puts that before everything, which I, think is a great thing, because I grew up with no family. My family threw me out when I was a kid. You know what I mean? So absolutely. The thing is for you to be there for your children. For that, I always honor a man that does stuff like that. So today, Mark, you want to say hi to the people?
What's going on, everybody?
I mean, we're here today. We're, and like I always say, and I'd let you know why. Please subscribe, hit the like, share stuff, because it helps out the channel. Obviously, I'm not blowing smoke up anybody's ass. And but this show isn't about me. It's about putting a message out there that people can get sober and do the right thing with their life and change things around. And hopefully at that point help other people and do it. But if they just help themselves and their immediate family, that's fine also. You know what I mean? But if they could help other people and be strong in recovery and stuff like that to help the next sick and suffering.
It's about balance. Yeah. Everything's about balance.
So
one of the cool things that you were just saying is we come from two different backgrounds, but look at us, we're both coming here together at the same time. Our paths crossed and we met each other because of the fact that we got our lives together. Two people who normally wouldn't probably be in the same basement together or anything along those lines. But one of the things that my mom always taught me is never go to somebody's house empty-handed. So I just wanted to bring you a little something.
That's what I'm saying, though. And I was going to ask. I'll be honest, dude. I was going to ask.
You want to know what's in the bag?
I know what's in this bag. I was going to say, yeah, dude, hey, how you going to do me like that, dude? And not But I figured, though, that no matter what, one of these days I'm going to get one of these, hopefully.
There you go.
But what we got right here is the Tribe he owns, and on the back it got stuff written on it, Tribe, and it says a group of people often of families and friends who live in the same area while sharing the same language, culture, history, and common goal. And it's a very nice shirt, dude.
Thanks.
And I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. What you get me, 3X?
I got you 2X and an XL. I didn't know what size.
My guy. If it was 3X, I would have felt embarrassed again. You know what I mean? Because when I was tubby, no, I'm just kidding. No, I wasn't ever that big like that. I don't think.
Hey, I'm just fitting into an extra large myself. I haven't been an extra large since high school.
Yeah, I'm 6'1". I mean, I was pushing 316 pounds. Everything was 3X at a point in time in my life. Yeah, I look like a water raft down the beach. You know what I mean? Like a beluga whale. Somebody told me. So, whatever though. But anyway, so obviously you're from South Philly, but where did you grow up around? We'll get through that.
Born and raised at 5th and Rittner. My parents still live down there. I just dropped the kids off to them while we're doing this. They're getting some grandchildren time in there.
Okay.
Going to love every minute of it, I'm sure.
Kids. They love your kids.
Without a doubt, man. My kids have nothing but love around them. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I grew up very similar, though. I didn't have like the rough upbringing that a lot of people had, and we've all been through our shit. And one of the things I've always said is, regardless of what I go through, a lot of it was stuff that I put myself in positions to be in bad spots, whether it be from drugs or just being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I chose those places. So I don't want to play the victim on any of that stuff. I don't want to make it anybody else's decision. What I went through is what God put me through to get me to where I'm at today. So I look forward to giving my story. Born and raised 5th and Rittner in South Philadelphia, went to Mount Carmel. A lot of my lack of trust or misguided religion comes from my grade school era, and it caused issues when I first came into sobriety, because they're like, find God, find God, find God. And I'm like, I went to Catholic school, and they're talking about God, but yet telling me they're going to kick me out because my parents couldn't afford tuition one week.
Where's the God in that?
Well, yeah. So my dad had some choice words for the nuns, and
did he?
We
don't want to say what they are though, but he did though. He had some.
He called them what they were. Let's just say.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that having that background caused me some issues, and everybody's going to have their faith, and I respect everybody's faith. But for me, it just caused me to not have the ability to have full trust in where I was at when I'm being told I'm not going to be able to continue to graduate. They were about to not let me graduate because my parents were struggling to get tuition. These are two people who came from nothing, built themselves up 18 and 21 years old when they first had kids, struggled. They worked 2 to 3 jobs at a time, which is probably why I was able to kind of like fly under the radar and do what I was doing out in the streets while they were working. Wasn't the right thing to do, but it was ultimately what I chose to do. And I got mixed in with the wrong people. Next thing I know,
did you graduate from?
I did graduate.
They didn't throw you out.
No, they didn't throw me out. Luckily, I
guess my
dad's words with them kind of hit home with them and realized like they have to do what they have to do.
He probably busted his ass and figured out a way to get.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
You know what I mean?
I'm sure he did.
But they put the clamp on him, like, yo, we need this dough.
Yeah. Shakedown.
I know how it is. Yeah. You know,
and that plays a part in a lot of different areas. Anywhere where there's going to be business, people are going to have their ways of doing things, whether we agree with them or not. But I did graduate, moved on. I ended up working for TSA down the airport, and really? I was getting high the whole time.
Really?
Sadly enough, but I did a good job. At least I think I did.
That's why 9/11 happened.
No.
I'm only kidding.
I was only looking for the drugs.
I'm only kidding. It was the other people that were high that were
there
TSA.
You go. But I was blessed though because I did have private insurance for working down there and was able to go to treatment. So when I finally like had enough, what it was at the end of the day was I was just getting high just to not be sick anymore, and I got tired of that stuff. So every penny I had was gone. I had a good job, but yet my parents were like, "Why are you still living at home with no money, no car?" I'm like walking to the airport at this point.
Yeah.
And
damn.
I just realized like I gotta change some things, and nobody picked up on anything. I just made the call myself. I reached out to I reached out to the HR department first. They told me they didn't know what to do. And then actually somebody from the neighborhood, South Philly, shout out to Kim Package.
Yeah.
I only say that because I know she's a saint,
Kim.
and she wouldn't mind me at least like recognizing her because she saved my life at the end of the day. She was the first person who I reached out to. I had no clue what recovery was. I had no clue that the rooms existed. None of these things. And
Kim's a good woman, bro.
She's a saint, man.
Yeah,
she's a saint. I grew up drinking in her basement, actually, not knowing that she was in recovery. And like,
really?
Looking back on it, I feel horrible, but God put me there for a reason, and I'm sure she's okay with the fact that I had to do what I was doing at the time.
That 150%.
So I got myself together. She brought me to my first AA meeting, and one of the things I was telling her I was struggling with was the God thing, and somebody was talking about God in the meeting and all this stuff, and it got a little wacky. But I was so scared for my life that nothing was going to scare me out of the rooms, let alone God. So I put myself into Kennedy Hospital because I was trying to go to Living Grin. I found out that my grandfather had been sober for a long time.
Kennedy, what's that, in Northeast?
No, it was Jefferson. Jefferson was Kennedy over in Cherry Hill at one point.
Huh.
So I went over there.
Yeah.
I guess the only reason was really Methodist. I went to a couple times and I was drug seeking every time I went there.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me get out of the neighborhood a little bit to go.
Everybody down here gets Methodist, right? It's like your first stop. Like, you know what I mean? Then they'll go to like Einstein or like, you know, anywhere.
Hit the next house on the block for it, basically. And
neighbor, baby.
So I go over there. I put myself in there, and my first experience was like I got off of the drugs through detox. I checked out, and I thought that was it. Like I was like, all right, I'm good. Like I'm no longer a drug addict. Apparently, I got them out of my system, and that's what I needed.
Yeah.
Well, like 3 hours out of detox, I go and find my drug dealer, and I didn't have any money left because I went on a vicious run before I went to detox with everything I had.
Yeah.
So I had to pawn everything else that was left, and I end up going and checking back into detox. And or no, I didn't check back in there. I called the detox and told them like, hey, you were trying to send me to Florida. I'm actually cool with that now. I think I need it. It was the Kennedy Hospital over in New
they
Jersey.
had like a detox center.
They had a detox center. Cool. Yeah. So they sent me down to Florida that day. They were like, get ready in an hour. I'm like, oh. Dude, like I threw like sweatpants and hoodies and all that stuff.
Have you ever been on a plane before that though?
Yeah, like when I was a little bit younger, we went to Disney. I guess I was like 8 or 9 years old or something like that, but it's been a while. I was getting fucked up though when I got out of there. So when I go to get on this plane, I had burst every blood vessel in my face from throwing up and whatever else I had going on. I burst every blood vessel in my face. I go to get on the plane. They were trying to not let me on there, and this British dude from the place I was going to goes, what do you mean? There's bloody doggy bags on the airplane for a reason. If he throws up, he throws up. Let him on there. It's a 2-hour flight.
Yeah.
Luckily, they get me on the flight. I sit down. This older lady,
his
like,
accent when he said,
"Oh yeah, what are you doing? The bloody doggy bags on the plane and blah 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 blah." I'm like, shit, dude, I could barely not shit myself at this point. Like, just let me on. So they get me on the plane. This lady, I remember shuffling down the aisle, and I was like, oh, please don't. And she comes up to me and goes, you're so lucky you get to sit next to me. And I'm like, lady, you have no idea. She spent 2 hours next to me just detoxing on the plane, throwing up in trash bags, going in and out of the bathroom the entire time, like all fucked up. So I get down there and
did she have to keep getting up too?
Yeah,
that's terrible.
I was the worst person to sit next to on that plane. She had plane ride from hell, basically. So I get down to Florida and I do 30 days in treatment, and on day 30 I cried though. I was like, I'm petrified to go home. Number one, I did what I had to do to get high, so the things I was doing caused a lot of effects in the neighborhood. So whether you robbed the drug dealer or whatever it was, there were people looking for me at the end of the day, and I wasn't ready to go back and face whatever music I created. So I cried to the counselor. I was like, I need to stay. Like I'm not ready for this yet. So they ended up keeping me. I did 75 days in there, and they sent me to this sober living home in West Palm.
What were they trying to, after 30 days, let you go?
They were going to let me go at 30 days, yeah, because it was all I went down there for originally was the 30-day stay.
Okay.
But at 30 days in, I was petrified to come home. So I see everybody else staying down there. I'm like, why the fuck can't I?
Yeah.
So they sent me to this halfway house in West Palm Beach. Number one, I apologize for cursing. It's
You're
just
good.
who I am at this point.
No, like I say to everybody,
I try my best not to. But.
Listen, dude, you could say, like I said to the one dude, I say, hey, man, if you're capable, you could do a fucking handstand in here. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Hey, listen, it's all real.
That would make an interesting podcast if I'm doing a handstand.
Listen,
but
it's all real shit.
Absolutely.
Like you're just telling your story. That's the truth, and your experience and your opinions, because you have one today of what is important and what you witnessed and what you've seen with your own two eyes, and that's the truth. And I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, so they sent me to this halfway house in West Palm, and it was called the Circle House, and it was old Section 8 housing.
Really?
And there was rats in there that were bigger than some of my roommates.
In Florida, they got big rats.
Oh, dude, this thing was fucking massive. I don't know if it's all over Florida, but this right across from the airport in West Palm Beach, there were some rats in this place. And when food got eaten, I didn't even blame the roommates. It was like the rat probably fucking ate it at this point. Like, I can't even blame nobody. It is what it is.
Holy shit!
One night I actually woke up. The DEA kicked in the door looking for somebody who used to live there, and they point the gun in my face. They're like, "Are you Jose? Whatever his last name? I don't want to put his name out there, but are you Jose?" Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, do I look like a Jose? Whatever. Like, come on, man. Like, I'm sitting here like morning wood, like just sitting here like, what in the world? You got a gun in my face, bro. Like, can I get out of bed at least first and we have this conversation?
He said he had morning wood and all that. Yeah, and then ain't a gun, guys.
Yeah, I don't know what you want from me, but
I'm not strapped,
you ain't getting that name out of me, and I never even heard of the person. And then he's starting to ask me, does he live here? And I'm like, I don't know nobody in this place. I got here like 2 days ago. I kept my head down. I was basically just jailing inside of this sober living home because it's what it looked like at this point. Yeah. So
God damn.
I get a job that day. They ended up helping me get a job. The owner of it was digging ditches in Lantana, and I'm not from Florida, so I didn't know how you operate in the heat like that. But I showed up in shorts and a t-shirt, no hat, and these Hispanic guys were looking at me like, "Gringo, you fucked up. Yeah. You're gonna fry your brain." And they pulled a hat out of the car, and then they were looking for shirts and stuff for me and like jackets. I'm like, none of you guys are close to my size. Like, don't even worry about it. I'll be all right.
You had the sombrero.
So I was out there with like the big old sun hat and everything.
I seen them down there, yeah.
And I ended up getting like vicious sunburn, and I only did that job for like a week. I got one paycheck out of it. I paid my rent with it, and then the next week I was like, I can't do this no more. Like, I'm not built for this. So I was like, I'm gonna go look for work. So while I'm looking for work, the owner of the house called me in for asking me like, what's going on? Why aren't you showing up for work there? And I said, I quit. I don't know what you want me to do. I can't be digging ditches in 100-degree weather. It's just I'm not built for this stuff. Yeah. And so he turns around, God bless anybody who digs ditches in that weather. God bless you. But it wasn't meant for me. So I get I leave there. I'm looking for work, and he gave me until that Friday to find a job, and I couldn't. Ends up kicking me out because I don't have rent to pay. I don't have a job. And he's like, you're basically just like wasting space here. I'm like, wasting space here? You got rats in this fucking place. Like, what do you mean I'm wasting space? Like, I'm trying. It's not like I'm not trying. Yeah. So I was like, all right. And at that point, pride and ego kicked in. I was like, I can't call my parents and tell them like I'm homeless in Florida and I need to come home. I wasn't scared. It was more of like a pride and ego thing of like,
you're mad.
I'm not calling them because the first thing on their head is going to be like, oh, Mark's getting high again. Yeah. And I wasn't. I was sober as can be at that point. Yeah. So I go and I found out I had a sponsor at the time. I was still going to meetings, like homeless, going to meetings, had the sponsor. Like, people were like looking out for me with meals and stuff like that, and like
So you're on the street at this
I was on the
point.
street. I was living
Really?
on the streets in West Palm Beach.
Really?
And
you were going to meetings.
Going to meetings. There was going to all the different clubhouses and stuff like that. It was honestly like what kept me surviving. I'm not a homeless person. I come from South Philly.
Yeah.
You if you're homeless out here, you got a couch to surf on regardless. Like people look out for you.
Yeah.
Down there, I didn't know nobody, so I'm on my own. And again, pride and ego. My parents are calling me and like I'm like, yeah, everything's going great.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like life's fucked, man. Like I didn't know what I was going to do. So I got told by somebody like, why are you doing this? Like go to this place. It's a homeless shelter basically, and they set you up with this thing called the Hot Team. So I go in, I check in, and number one night one there, this guy's like trying to like, I don't know if he was trying to like steal from me or like trying to like do whatever he was. He was trying to like get real close, and I was just like, listen, here's the deal. I'm not here for a long time, and whatever the fuck has to happen here is going to happen, but you ain't going to come around me like this. Man. So I put my distance between him, and the next morning, luckily, I get picked up by this truck that I don't even know how I made it there. The thing was falling apart. And they told me, you're going to this place called Clean Time. Clean Time Inn. It's in Lake Worthless. It's probably still there. I check in, and they throw my stuff in this thing for bed bugs. I'm like, this got to be a joke because there ain't no way this place don't have bed bugs at this point. But sure, do your thing. So they put me in this room, and I had these two older roommates. One of them was an older Cuban guy who spoke no English whatsoever. I don't even know his name. Yeah. And then there was this guy, Eddie Diaz, who tried to tell me him and his brother were the Diaz brothers from Scarface. Like, fuck the Diaz brothers. That's who these guys were. Is what he was trying to tell me. I'm like, sure. So I'm trapped in this little room that's probably about a tenth of the size of the room where I'm right now. And I'm sleeping next to these guys. You had to be home. If you weren't home by whatever curfew was, I can't remember what time curfew was, but if you weren't home, like the doors are locked and you're done. You're kicked out and you're homeless again. So I got a job right away. I started to work for this place and I felt horrible like looking back on it. I worked for this phone room called Police Benevolence Association. It was like a fake police benevolence association, basically, where they're collecting money for cops who were hurt or whatever and can't work. Meanwhile, the owner's showing up with like a Rolex on and driving a Cadillac, and he hops up on the desks in the mornings, like pounding his chest, like all weird shit.
Like Wolf on Wall Street.
Yeah, he thought he was the fucking man. And then the one day I went in there and he like gave me an attitude. I was just like, listen, buddy, like I'm not beat for this stuff. Whatever you got going on here, I don't want to be a part of. So I leave there and I started to work for this other phone room. And like Florida, it's literally like you're either digging ditches for the 100-degree weather or like in a phone room in early recovery. Yeah. So like. Yeah, to me, early recovery is worse than active addiction for that reason. And because my early recovery sucked every single time I came back in, it was brutal. And I made it through what I made it through and weathered those storms. But at the times, like it looked like it was a never-ending storm. So I'm down there. I ended up meeting up with this girl. We go through our thing. Ended up relapsing at that point, and I checked back into treatment. 75 days in, I put together 2 years sober after treatment. Took every suggestion. I stayed in Port St. Lucie this time. I stayed around a bunch of people who were doing things. Yeah, we were down there. And I got the sponsor, got the home group, made commitments, was traveling to go to meetings, like doing everything I needed to do, and like all the stuff we learned in this program, and it worked for me. Then I stopped working for me. But when did it stop working? When I stopped working it. Yeah. I stopped answering my phone. I stopped helping other people. I started to work the steps backwards. We're talking about 10, 11, and 12 on a daily basis. I wasn't doing it at all.
Now, when you stopped doing it, how much time did you have when you stopped doing it?
Like just under 2 years, probably 18 months.
And you're still down there though.
And I was still down there. I owned a sober living home at the time. My brother, like listen, I'm blessed with
How'd you get involved in that though? What were you seeing the way
I was working it? Yeah, I was working in treatment, and I saw like treatment centers opening up sober living homes, and I'm like, there's nothing special about these things. Like you can do this on your own and like actually care about people rather than being like a treatment center that has to own it. So I was like one of the first mom and pop sober living homes in Port St. Lucie at the time. And it ran really well. I had all the treatment centers working with me and stuff like that. But again, it wasn't them. It wasn't anything to do with the house. It was everything to do with me. Yeah. I stopped answering the phones. I stopped doing everything I needed to be doing. And like, I started to literally just destroy my life step by step by step. And
now when you had that sober living home that was yours down there though, what were things that you stood by? What were things that you made sure were being done?
I mean, everything that I was doing to get where I was at basically was what I was telling other people to do. So get the sponsor, get the home group, go to meetings. We would have house meetings at the house. We would have step studies at the house.
Urine cups, like whatever.
Urine cups, yeah. I mean, drug testing was on a regular basis. And it was one of them things where it was like, accountability is key. Mm-hmm. Accountability was key. If you were in my house, I knew who you were, what you were going through, where your family's at, what jobs you were working, all that stuff. Like getting to know people is really what it comes down to. And that's whether it be a sober living home or a treatment center or whatever. Like if you don't know these people, I run groups, I sit in groups, I sit with individuals at my houses. People can call me. Every individual in my treatment center has my cell phone number.
Really?
Every last one. If you come through our doors, I know who you are, what you're doing, what you're going through, where your family's at, what your family's been through, what you put your family through. Everything. Every last bit of detail about you, because I need to know the facts of how I can help you at the end of the day.
You sound like somebody I know, bro. I stand big on all them things. You know what I mean?
And it's key.
Yeah. Because and if you meet the individual, every individual, you can see how they look with a clear eye.
Yeah.
So if something's wrong,
you pick up on it.
As far as like even using, you'll know right away.
Baselines. I have a baseline on every single person.
If they're isolating, if they're like, you know what I'm saying? Like if they're going through something, they're facing, like even us, like when we go into an AA meeting, you know, people that we know can tell something's wrong with us. You know what I'm saying? So that's a very valuable thing.
Everything that I do for those people, though, for the individuals who are in our care, I do for myself also.
You're talking about now?
Now.
Yeah.
Still to this day. If I make sure that they have my baseline just like I have their baseline, because I'm just like them. There ain't nobody in that room, if I'm in a room with everybody, there ain't nobody in that room who's closer to the next drink than any one of us. I could go out there, I could be sitting in them seats as a client the next day. And that's one of the things I was about to get into is when I checked back out after I went out after almost 2 years, I go to treatment again, 75 days.
So what? That's
God bless government insurance, 75 days.
Real quick. So what? So you had 2 years. You're in Port St. Lucie. You had the recovery.
Yep.
Did you wind up relapsing?
I relapsed because I worked the steps backwards, and I ended up moving back out of that. Like I moved away from everything that was helping me, and I separated myself from everything. I didn't go around the sober living home anymore. And somebody called me for help. He got into my car. He had Dilaudid at the time. He was all messed up, and he was about to die. Honestly, he knew he was about to die. He was like, "I can't do these no more," and gave them to me.
That's insane.
When he handed them to me, something clicked in my head. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, I had no defense. They talk about the defense in the rooms. I had none because I completely separated myself from the room, the steps, God, everything good in my life, and Dilaudid became my God. I'm definitely afraid of needles, and it's probably the only reason I'm still here. I'll fight a silverback gorilla before I take a needle. It's just, I don't know what it is, but God instilled that fear into me, and I'm grateful for it because of the fact that it's the only reason I'm here at the end of the day. So Dilaudid's, they're one of them things where they say you only really get messed up if you shoot them, and I'm like, I can't do this. So I take them as almost like a waste, and then in my head I'm like, I already relapsed, I might as well go. So the entire time down there, they're telling us about the bad neighborhood, Fort Pierce. Fort Pierce is the worst place on earth, blah, 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 blah. You don't want to go there. And I'm like, I ran South Philly, I ran North Philly. Hey, you ain't going to tell me somewhere's worse than anywhere I've been. Like, I'm going to go there, and I'm going to show you why you should have been warning Fort Pierce about Mark Warner for 2 years. So I go to Fort Pierce and do my thing. For 10 days, I wanted to kill myself, though, is what ended up happening. All that ego goes away with the second I step into the jungle, and I'm like, fuck, man. Like, I'm down that rabbit hole now. I got a motel room with this girl, and motel room didn't have a lock on the door. Reason I got it for so cheap is because it didn't have a lock on the door, and I'm like, I don't need no lock on the door. Well, when you go and rob a drug dealer, you need a lock on the fucking door. So find out the hard way that I should have had a lock on the door. Go through all these things. Over a 10-day period, the amount of things that fit in, you could put into a movie at the end of the day. But scared the shit out of me. I wanted to die. I sat in that motel room, honestly, just wanting to kill myself.
So did the drug dealers get in?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They get in.
That was one of the bad days. He's like, all right, 9 left. 9 more days left. I'll get to that now. Damn. All right.
So end of it, I end up, funny story real fast, and I know he wouldn't mind me saying this, but my buddy Andrew, I won't go into his last name or anything, but my buddy Andrew was up north on a run. He was staying in my sober living home, and I had no clue he was up north on a run. I had his Jeep down in Florida, and I'm on a run now at this point. And so he's up here, his car's down there. They're both on a run, and he has no clue. And I end up leaving there. I type out a text message on day 10 to my sponsor. Paragraphs, bro. Like, I'm talking about like a life story type shit. And I still to this day don't remember ever pressing the send button, but I think the heat radiated off my finger so much that I just sent it, and instantly just like I felt relieved. Like everything, all the issues I had going on, all the piles, every problem I had piled up over 10 days, longer than 10 days, because the 10 days was the using part. But you got to figure it, not working the program, all the things that piled up from like all that type of stuff. That's months worth of just like bullshit of problems I piled on my plate. And so
you weren't hiding no more once you sent that text.
Yeah, I felt so relieved that like everything's over, like the show's up. And so my sponsor's like, I'll come get you, but I guess he was on drug dealer time at the time, so it was taking forever, and I'm sitting there in the room like ready to die. So I was like, fuck this, give me your address, I'm coming to your house. So I went to his house. As I'm leaving the parking lot, the girl's like screaming out the room, like, you were supposed to get sober together, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, listen, number one, I just took the last of our drugs. Number two, like I can't get sober with nobody. Like I need to get sober. Like you go get your help, I'll go get mine.
And I don't care about you.
End of the day, dude, I was at the lowest point of my life. Like I can't help nobody if I can't help myself. And if I bring her with me, there's a chance we're leaving wherever we're at together. I've seen how that show plays out. It just doesn't play well. So I separated myself from it. I go over to my sponsor's house and I hug his now wife. At the time was his girlfriend. She's like, you smell like crack and death. And I was like, well, funny thing is I feel like crack and death. So I end up going to treatment one more time, 75 days in again. And it was 75 days of just pure surrender. I literally never felt this peace in my life. I've never felt this like gratitude that I have what I have in my life, even though I had nothing. If that makes any sense at all, I had everything I needed in life, but I had nothing at the same time, which is...
How were people treating you too? Like when you came back?
So that's one of the things that's kind of like I held resentments towards a little bit in the beginning, and I no longer do because, again, it's what I needed to go through at the time to get me where I'm at. So when I checked back, when I was in there, I decided I need to get rid of the sober living home I had. So I was actively looking for somebody to purchase the lease off of me and the name and all that stuff. So this kid decides he was going to buy it off me. Thought he was a friend of mine. He turns around. He's trying to run like illegal groups out of the house. And he's like, when you come back, you're a client. And I said, I get that. He's like, well, things that we're doing here are different now. We're running groups out of the house. I'm like, wait, what do you mean you're running groups out of the house? And he's like, we're running groups. Like, we need your insurance and all that. I said, nah, man. I said, I ain't moving back into that. And he's like, well, then you ain't coming here. I said, you didn't buy anything off me yet, so I don't know where you're telling me I can and can't fucking go. But like whatever you got in your head, I said, here's the deal: get whatever you put in that house out because I don't want nothing to do with whatever that is. I said, I don't even want my name on the lease attached to whatever you're trying to do with this house at this point. So now, mind you, the entire time down there, real fast, I watched people in sober living homes driving Lamborghinis. This is Florida, 2010, 2011, 12. I'm watching people in sober living homes driving Lamborghinis and pulling up in nice cars and buying Rolexes and all this stuff because of the patient brokering thing that was going on at the time.
Yeah, client brokering and all that shit. Yeah.
I never got involved in any of that stuff. I turned down those checks even while I was getting fucked up. I never accepted a payment for a client at the end of the day because I knew that there's something wrong about what's going on and there's no way that could be right.
Yeah.
So I separated myself from it. And then this was like, you're trying to tell me after doing 75 days in treatment of doing groups for 75 days, I got to come out and do groups at your house with God knows who you have running these things because it's all illegal anyway at the end of the day. I was like, it's just not nothing I want to be a part of.
Client.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I get him out of there and ended up selling it to this other guy who I really liked. He was just respected what he was about. He didn't really have much to give. It was way less money than what it was going to be. And I gave all that money to my little brother who helped me start the thing at the end of the day because he needed to recoup some of the money that he put in.
Was he down there with you?
Nah, he's up here. He's a normie. One of the best dudes you'll ever meet in your life, man. My brother is everything I ever desire to be in life. Let's put it that way. And he's not a sober individual. So, so we come back up, or I get back out of treatment. I go back into that house as a client, which was like, to me in my head, I was trying to humble myself. I just needed to realize that like what I thought I had nothing.
Does everybody there when you get there though? Do they know? They know. They
know. I scholarship some of these dudes into the house. I got a lot of judgment passed against me. One of them actually said, and I'll never forget these words. So and so bought the house off of you. I'm glad you'll have money to go back in your pocket up north with. Basically saying like you're going to go relapse. Like enjoy that money while you're up there.
So they were being smart. Yeah.
And this is somebody who I let into my house with no money, no nothing. I put food on his plate. I put clothes on his back. Like, and I didn't do those things for recognition by any means because I never told anybody about that stuff, and I won't even mention his name. But those types of things are like, wow, that's how we feel about people. Is like somebody messes up.
You didn't do it to get treated like shit either. When you came back, like that person was, when they came in. So
I
that happens a lot though.
Yeah. So I leave. I decided then I was going to move back up. I have an older brother who I don't want to get into that side of the story, but. His wedding was coming up, so we were moving back up. I decided I was going to move back here, and I come back up north. I get right into the program right away. I decided I'm going to go right to the South Philly group. I showed up to the South Philly. You were actually at the meeting I went. No, Sacred Heart basement. Yeah. You were actually at the meeting that I went to on my first meeting back up.
When I seen you the other day,
There it is.
You know,
yeah.
I remember.
Oh
it.
yeah.
I remember. it.
So I walked into that meeting. I had shorts on and a t-shirt. It's fucking freezing out.
Yeah.
And I walked in there and I was just like, I'm here to save my life. Like, I can't do this no more. I raised my hand. I shared that. Like, I just moved back up here. I'm from Florida, clearly. Like, I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt. I ain't got nothing. I need help. Like, people, please surround me. If you're doing the right thing, please surround yourself with me. And I dug deep into the program. I between here and South Jersey, because I started to work for a sober living home in South Jersey, and it was a treatment center, Humble Beginnings.
Yeah.
I started to work over there in the beginning, and I was a house manager. It gave me the ability to provide for myself still. I wasn't making a lot of money. I think I was making like $8 an hour or something like that. But it gave me the ability to put a couple dollars in my pocket, help other people, give back, and still be a part of going to the meetings and stuff like that, and without having to like dive right back into like some sort of work up here. I move on from there. I ended up becoming from house manager to tech of the IOP that we opened up over in Jersey. Built that IOP up to a 75-person IOP. Switch over from a 75-person IOP to opening up a 35-person PHP program in Willow Grove, PA. While I was still at the tech position, I actually met my wife, Renata. She reached out to me on Facebook, dude, and I was like, looking back at our message, I'm like, why the fuck would she even talk to me? I was a jerk, man. I blew her off at first, or at least tried to.
So you were angry though? Were you an angry dude?
Yeah, I was mad at the world. Yeah. I hated everything.
You're like me.
It was Angry Mark, basically. Yeah,
that's crazy. Yeah.
So she came into the picture, and I was driving the van from treatment because I didn't have my own car at the time. I had all my money again. I was only making at the time, I think I made $12 an hour as a tech. So I was able to afford my apartment with my boy over in Jersey. We lived in Voorhees. The apartment took pretty much everything from us. We ate it between his parents' house and my parents' house was the only place we ate, and we would like bring food back home with us. But she would come over, and I had to make it look like I at least have it somewhat together. I hope she stays with me at that point. So we go to the Olive Garden for our first date. I drove by this Olive Garden the other day, actually, and the apartment, and she had no clue at the time I was paying for it with a gift card I got from Christmas, because us addicts get gift cards like no others. And I got a Olive Garden gift card, and we go to Olive Garden for our first date. And I'm telling you, I have no clue. Renata, I don't know why you were even with me at the time.
Man, you know, impress the ladies, man. Hey, look, had to do it. Not even just going out, then you got the gift card.
Oh yeah. So
wow,
we go there. I like slid it into like, if this is the gift card, when they came by with the thing, I was like, here you go, that's for you. Keep the rest. That's crazy. I don't even know if I left a tip. I feel horrible about that, but again, I had nothing. I had nothing in my fucking name. I was as low as I could be in life, and again, this is in recovery. Early recovery has always been one of them things that's the main reason I don't go back out, is because it ain't active addiction that scares me. It's early recovery that scares me. I know I'm not built for active addiction, so I know it won't last forever. If I don't die, I'm going to come crawling back eventually. And when I come crawling back, that to me is like the hardest part, is to get past those first couple years of just rebuilding.
Well, that's everything. Like when the bell rings and the fight starts. It's like, and people are like, oh, it's about surrender. Hey, look, you got to grind and fight for what you're trying to do, though. Everything's a fight. Like for a person like me, and the way you're saying, everything was an obstacle. Everything was a hurdle to jump. Everything was like a brick wall I was hitting.